Hey everybody, I've had some questions, so I wanted to just do a quick follow-up video on this Tahoe gear. 16-foot Teepee. Had it out last weekend again, so I got it set up, I'm rehabbing it. I thought it was a good time to kind of address some of those questions and talk a little bit about what's going on with it after a year. It's been about a year since I've had it. I've had it out, I don't know, a dozen times, spent probably 25 nights in it or so. Haven't had really any problems with it. It's really holding up well for me. We've got two sleeping bags set up in it again, just so that you can kind of see the floor space again. It takes up about a quarter of the floor space. It's a huge tent. At one point I think I had 5 adults in here with all of our gear. I've also had 2 adults and 4 kids in here with all of our gear and had no problems with space. Everybody has plenty of room. The center pole is something that I like a lot. I like the option of attaching your headlamp or a fan, something like that. That headlamp lights up this tent, even with the red light. Plenty to see around for what we need to do. It's holding up good. I have no rips, no tears anywhere. The seams are really holding up. I'm not sure how well you'll see it in the video, but the tape's still holding up. I've had no leaks. There's no problems with the floor. The floor has no holes. I've had it out in some pretty wet conditions, and I have no holes in the floor, no moisture that's come through. I've had it in 3 pretty decent sized storms. One of them we got just shy of 2 inches, maybe 1 3/4 inches of rain in just over an hour that night, and stayed dry. Didn't get wet in here at all. I think I might have talked about that in the first video, where the only problem we had was the baffling at the bottom of the door. We let that get turned in, so we got some rain around the door because of that. Had no problems with that particular issue since then. This weekend was windy. We had it out, it was 70+ mile-an-hour winds. There was a tornado just north of our campsite. It was out of the same storm system. Most of the tents in the campground that we were in were on the ground. They'd gotten crushed or blown over by morning, and while we got beat up pretty good in this tent, it stayed up. So I was pretty happy with that, considering how intense those winds were. A few things that we did have happen this weekend. Down here again at the floor, that is the one thing I probably wish they would change, is to either add a zipper or a way to close that, and I may eventually add some kind of Velcro or something there, because how intense the winds were, it was blowing water up underneath the door. It wasn't a huge deal because we just threw a towel down by the door and that took care of the problem, but I would have really preferred that door be able to close all the way down when the wind gets that bad. That's the one and only time we've ever had problems with anything blowing under the door, and like I said, the winds were pretty intense. I had a clip up here that I thought broke during the wind, right there. So because of that and the wind, it was blowing rain in up underneath that cap, and it got a little wet right in the center. But once I realized that it didn't break that ring, it just popped it off. I don't know how well you can see that just snaps on and off. Once we got that back on, the problem stopped. So I had intended originally to replace all of those with some kind of a small carabiner, but once I realized that I think it just caught it right and unsnapped it, but I don't think I'm even going to do that. I'm happy with that. It happened once during the entire night. The other thing is, and I don't know if it's because of the amount of wind that I've had it in, we've developed a little bit of slack here in some of the sides. It really only impacts a couple of these sides that don't have the windows in them, because you can see the windows have guy lines that it doesn't matter whether or not you have the window open or closed, you can guy that out and it pulls the wall out a little bit. But right here we got a little slack. I think that's from material stretch. We redid some of the guy lines, and then I added this little carabiner that clips into the loop to hold the door open. and then snaps into the guy line, and that seems to have taken out most of the slack. You can still see there's still a little bit there, but it's not bad at all. Some of the questions that I got asked were in relationship to the door size. So I got my measuring tape out today, and the door is 64 inches at the base, 42 inches at about waist high, and then it's 68 inches tall, and you can see it goes up to a point. But it's big enough. I've had no problems getting gear in and out of here. You could haul a completely set up cot in and out of here, no problem. You know, you could feasibly walk 2 people through this door at the same time if they were both willing to duck to get in. And then the other question was actual usable floor space. I'm 6 foot tall, and as I walk up to the sidewall, here's right about where my head touches, and I measured out from about here, and this is roughly just over 3 feet between where I can stand and the bottom of the wall. So being a 16 foot wide floor space, you've got just shy of 10 feet of usable space standing up. The ceiling, as I mentioned in the video before, you can't even touch that. I can't reach that. That's plenty high. I want to say it's 9 feet tall, but I don't know exactly. All in all, I'm really happy with the tent. I've got no complaints. If anything happens, which I'm sure it will eventually, everything eventually wears out, I will replace this with the same tent. Right now, I think you can get them online for $130 shipped. I think I paid a little less than that when I originally bought it, but for $130, it served us really well, and I really, truly have no complaints over it whatsoever. If you guys can think of any other questions or comments, please let me know. I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll shoot another video in 6 months or a year and let you know how it's doing then, if there's any interest. But so far, a year in, about 25 nights out, I'm really happy with it. So, thanks for checking out the video. Take care.